Okay, hello, everyone. Your fan favorite and award-winning podcast is back to recap Greenhouse Season 8, hosted by none other than the Taylor Luke. But before we get into it, time to introduce this season's hosts, starting with Matty Ice.
Oh my God, thank you. Thanks to our live studio audience for the warm welcome. Happy to be here all season long.
Alrighty, and some may be surprised, and he's probably rolling his eyes backstage, and is none other than Edmund.
Where's my round of applause, studio audience? Where is it?
Flash the applause sign, so sorry.
And we had to go all out for our guest for our first week and have the one and only host of the Greenhouse.
Hello.
Hello. How is everyone doing?
I'm really good. Things are going just swimmingly.
Yes.
Well, we do have a new season of Greenhouse on our hands. Are we all excited for a new season?
Always.
I am.
I'm excited personally.
I wonder why.
There's going to be drama, friendship, and betrayal this season, Taylor. Can you give us any little tidbits?
Yeah, I think that this season will set the standard moving forward for what we can expect strategically from the Greenhouse.
And I do want to say there's a lot of girls talking about they did their research, they took their notes, they think they know how to play the Greenhouse. But I think the strategy is ever evolving. So you think it's going to evolve this season?
I think it is.
Ooh.
And I think that's just like the beauty of a series once they really get into it, is just like players start going off of past seasons and it just gets crazier and crazier every season. And just like last season, I know we all said season 7 was going to set the tone. I'm very excited to hear that season 8 are just correct.
So Taylor, with coming up with the theme of season 8, you came up with coconut tree, context, and everything that comes before it.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about your thought process behind this theme and what you were wanting to achieve going into this and setting up this cast.
Yeah. Tell me something more.
I'll give you more context. So, first of all, the season was originally going to be half returnees, half newbies.
Okay.
So, like, that was the original, like, kind of theme and idea that I was going to go with. I think it was going to be 16 originally, then it grew to 18, then obviously fell to 17. So that's where it started, was I knew I wanted to start with one group in the coffee house, one group in the normal house. So it wasn't always going to be a double elimination. In fact, I don't know, sorry, I'm getting too in the weeds. But it was originally going to be, okay, so we're going to do an intro with the newbies in the normal house and then an intro with the fan faves in the coffee house, kind of like all-stars. And then they'll have to pick as a group 3 people to represent them in the Greenhouse Challenge. So then it would be those 6 people competing in the first challenge, and it would be like an immediate merge, but like kind of put those divides. So that was the main thing I wanted, was I really wanted to create some kind of way for basically there to be a line in the middle at the start and to see how people navigate that like completely artificial line. So whenever casting wise, a bunch of the people that I was trying to get couldn't make it, it got more newbie heavy. So in order to accomplish the same thing, it turned into this split house idea. So I don't know when Coconut Tree really came in. It honestly might have come in like literally 4 days before. I think I wasn't even planning to do a theme. It was going to be much like 7, where I was just like doing normal rounds, like maybe find like a couple dumb things to do. But I don't know. I got the image in my head of the coconut tree being the way that they decide how to split between the 2 houses, and it just really tickled me. So I just decided to like pretend it was the theme. And like it means nothing. So like I could just say that, you know. And I do feel like it kind of plays into the fact that there are people returning to the game. Like there is the context of the rest of the greenhouse. I did end up getting one representative from every season but 7. In fact, 7, I was supposed to have Daniel play, but he couldn't make it last minute. Yeah. I don't know. I could go through the people I was like trying to get to if you're curious.
I think the fans would want to know.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure. I need to find the original list.
Maybe
I wanted Lainey from season 1, Bryce from season 1. I wanted to try to get Clyde from season 2. From season 3, it was always Allie. I think I invited Zach at some point. And I didn't invite Edmund specifically because I didn't want Edmund and Papa together. Season 4, I wanted Kim. I invited Caleb. I invited John Michael. Season 6, I invited Kareem. I invited Zakai. I invited Blythe. I invited Kiera. I invited Piglet. Piglet was on the cast for a while. Season 7, I invited Daniel. And I tried to invite Seth, but he had something that weekend. It was only ever going to be one of the first 2 boots from season 7 because I didn't want to spoil. But anyway, that's like the people I canvassed.
But instead, you gave us only like a rotation of like 3 or 4 names that we have to keep straight all season for season 8.
No, I was just as annoyed as probably the fans are, but it'll work out.
So seeing the 2 groups that were split into the main house and the coffee house, what group would you guys want to be in? Would you want to be in the main house with most of the returnees, or would you want to be in the coffee house with most of the newbies, even though there was that dynamic of the gamers and the newbies?
I'd want to be in the main house.
Yeah.
Because I felt like they have 2 or 3 of the quietest players who would be pretty easy to just kind of push out in like a first round, close quarters type of round. And also,
and who is that? Who is that?
I mean, shade, like I feel like what Matty and Mickey, there wasn't too much going on. I'm trying to think, even John Michael was pretty quiet, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might be forgetting someone else, but those are the 2 that stand out. Though also, I feel like Allie has a history of like messy starts, which I'm sure we'll get there. But like, if I was in the house with Allie, I would sheep. I would sheep all the way to the final 2 and then quit.
I think I would pick the main house as well for similar reasons. I think there's enough people to easily put some sort of reason to nominate them. Whether they're a returnee or they were a little more quiet. So yeah, I think there'd be a little more options there if I weren't to make the greenhouse and you needed to paint the target elsewhere.
Yeah, I think I also would pick the main house for the same reasons, but also for the fact that I love Kiera. She was my girl in season 6, but like if I had to choose to not play with someone I had played with and technically did a little dirty, I would obviously go the safer route. Definitely bigger personalities in the coffee house.
Why, and Taylor, you can probably give a little insight on this. Why do you guys think, even though Matty was quieter, she kind of skated by and Mickey kind of was the one that had to be the pawn in this situation?
Do we want to back up and like get to that, or
we're talking about the quiet girl, so because honestly, Lee was kind of quiet too, but everyone loves Lee.
Lee Lewis?
He was pretty quiet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lee out. Sorry, I'm not trying to talk to anybody. I think it's because I guess we're not backing up. Lee was at the top.
Okay, so we played a greenhouse classic where you had to balance a ping pong ball across the driveway and drop it in a cup for the greenhouse challenge. We played in 3 heats, and then the final heat would be the 3 top finishers to decide placements of who would pick where in the greenhouse. Ultimately, we see Lee come in 3rd. We see Matty was first, Matty M, and Ani, right?
Yes.
Is that how you say it? Ani came in second. So during the greenhouse deliberation, Matty automatically says, hey, whoever takes seeds, I'm not going to put them up. They all kind of agree to this. Would y'all want to take seeds in this situation?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I agree.
Specifically because it's a first round.
Right.
Like, if there's any time to do it, this is probably the safest time to do it. No one's going to want to make an enemy right away. So yeah, it's like a freebie safety plus 2 seeds, and you don't have to put something up.
Yeah.
It's first round and close quarters, so you quickly become the only person who can unilaterally buy uproot. So you both have the promise from the other people, which is always going to be there round 1, and you have the threat of being able to save yourself immediately so that they won't like put you up to like it's that much harder for them to go back on their word because you could just immediately bounce back. So I think everyone should want seeds.
Yeah. Plus, as we see, like a lot of times the first round is like, oh, whoever gets a seed, it's like, we're not going to nominate you, is a pretty common circumstance, I feel like, consistently in every season. So if you're not feeling safe, you might as well not make a target round 1, especially when the groups are so small.
So while the greenhouse girls are debating things, you know, the girls are upstairs talking about how they're feeling about things. You know, we get a little confessional from Matthew saying, I am not excited about Split House and blah, blah, blah. And then 2 seconds later, I think Mickey and Allie walk in. He's like, I am so excited. I got split into a house with you guys.
I'm really interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah, literally. So they're all talking up there, and then Allie starts gabbing, and I think honestly, Allie is saying we should all stick together, and that's what she's worried about, right? Which ultimately these people end up taking that strategy and saying that's what we want to do. They just don't want Allie a part of it. So yeah. So how do you guys feel about that if you were in Allie's shoes?
I mean, it's shitty, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't know Allie. I've never met Allie, talked to Allie. So I don't know what it is that, like, she's the one kind of trying to, like, get the talks going and offer something. And it just, like, seemed to totally backfire. And I don't really know why, but I don't know. It's got to be really frustrating.
I think Allie has had, like Taylor said, kind of not the best starts consistently, whether it was the live game or the online game. So I think her fear of not wanting to keep that streak going, she was so in her head about like, hey, we should be a team and do this, that she was oversharing the right strategy. And so, you know, round 1, like a first boot it kind of happens quick. It's a little bit harder to overcome. So I think as soon as she started sharing how uneasy she was, everyone just rolled with it. So I'm not really sure what she should have done after that.
Yeah, I have thoughts. So this is Allie's, I believe, 3rd game with me. So her first time was her strongest, and it was when she came in the most confident and was more direct in trying to make alliances with people. And in fact, or at least what I think her takeaway from her first game was that she overplayed it. People thought that she was like gunning too hard for power, and was like kind of at the top socially, which honestly she was. So I think in Greenhouse 3, you see her try to overcorrect, but she overcorrected in that she was not willing to make too many promises to people, if I remember correctly. Like she was more like, look, I don't want to make too many alliances, so like I can promise you right now. Or things like
it's always these like 2 rounds.
It's always these like 2 rounds, like short things, and I think that was a symptom of her over promising her first time. So that was her overcorrect that time, but because people didn't see her as committing, it's the reason that she was taken out. She was seen as shifty. So now this time, I think that she felt like the need to overcorrect even more, to where not only did she not offer strong like pitches to people, but she didn't want to even kind of throw out the half things that she threw out in Greenhouse 3. So this time she's like, So I can promise you 2 rounds, but I don't want to seem like I'm doing too much.
Yeah.
So like she would say it, but then unsay it. And then
Right.
talk about all the things that she wasn't wanting to do. And I think that nervous energy, I mean, you could see it from the start. Whenever like everybody's complimenting her brat outfit, and she's like, I don't want everyone to think that I'm put together. You know,
Right.
I think it's just that nervous energy that I think just came from her wanting to do better than before, which is great. And I think that she picked up on some of the things that she needs to do, but I think it translated to I think her thinking of that just projected outward in a way that everyone was picking up on. So as soon as you show anybody that you're nervous at all, it's easy, especially in the first round, to interpret that as you're nervous not only about the game but about me.
Yeah.
So like that's enough to like eliminate you round 1. So I think it's really just about if Allie's watching, just breathe for a second. It's about engendering just that confidence and that calm in other people and not letting them see you sweat, because as soon as you're sweating, they're worried that you're sweating because of them. You know. So anyway,
Right.
that's my
No,
like,
I do agree. In Greenhouse 3, I think in the beginning she did kind of have her few people, right?
Yeah.
And then she would kind of be pussyfooty. I don't know how else to explain it, but like, you know what I mean? She'd be like, I'm not going to promise you like a super strong allegiance, but like, we're good for now. And like, that kind of got her people in the beginning. And then she would kind of do that dance where she's like, you know, I don't want to promise you anything, and I don't really want to do too much. It's still super early in the game, but then she ignites the poison daisy chain, right? And then ultimately that totally flips back on her, because it's like, well, obviously you want to do things and you want to make moves in this game, so why are you saying you don't want to do these things?
Right.
And then this time around, she's like kind of saying it, like you said, Taylor, and then she'll unsay it. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But it's like, it's still too early to be worried about people viewing you as a threat in that way. So just like own it for now and then correct later, like a few rounds from now, if people are starting to pick up on that and wanting to target you for it.
Yes, because I get the want not to like deceive people and all of that, obviously. But at the start of the game, it is a race to confirm your loyalty to people. You know? So it is a race to say, I'm going to do this, and then do it. To just like establish that people can have confidence in you. So I think that the pussyfooting is good for like what, top 10, like that top 10 to top 7 stretch of I can promise you a bit, whenever you have more context in the game of like a 3-week promise is a good thing. But here at the start, you're trying to find people to lock in long term.
That's what I was thinking.
So anyway,
especially because like Matthew, knowing how Matthew is, he used that right against her right away. He went, Allie's already worried about you, and she's already saying all this stuff while you guys are out down there discussing your strategies. And then Matthew had those other people to back him up when they were bringing it up to other players like Dee Dee, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think if Allie could have just like connected with like even 1 or 2 people right off the bat and just like reeled it in, then like we're all gonna like, you know, panic and get nervous at different like parts of the game. It's just the name of the game. I just think like she needed to have that person she could do that with, and it was just always in a group setting.
Yeah, I think another thing that Allie missed out on, and I think this note goes to all of the returnees, but I never saw any of the conversations of like, hey, this is our second time, like it might be a conversation for the other people, so let's at least protect each other. You know, that's a good enough reason to at least keep Allie through the first round, especially with Matty having power. You know what I mean?
So surprised by that, because there's a total of what, 5 of them?
Yes.
Out of 18, 17? Like I would have, if I was, I mean, I don't know. I would have at least tried to, and being in a house with 4 out of 9 people, like y'all could have figured something out to help give you a little bit of a protection for a little bit in the early stages. Yeah, I was surprised that, and I don't think anyone else is talking about the newbie returnee split at all. Like I don't think it really came up in anyone's, you know, little moments to the camera or in their little one-on-one conversations. It like seemed to not affect people too much, which is kind of nice for, you know, the returners, because there aren't as many, so they're not just like easy automatic first people out. But so yeah, I found that really interesting that it really wasn't a point of conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I aside from Allie, you know, kind of strolling during this time, we also see this house, unlike the other house, but we'll get into that. This house seems to kind of just focus more on like the vibes of the group, in general, and like trying to get through this first round. Were there any dynamics that surprised you, or you guys are looking forward to seeing play out?
I knew talking to Matthew that he has some fascination with Miss Dee. So I knew as soon as he was going to get in that house, if Miss Dee was in that house, he was going to lock it down with her. And then he obviously had Lee Lewis, who he knew before. I know Matthew knew the girls in the other house too, but we'll see how that plays out because they have some previous drama. So we'll see if they hash it out or if they, you know, continue their rivalry. But as soon as I saw Matthew sit down with Miss Dee, I knew they were going to lock something down. And I was interested to see if she was going to reciprocate that energy, especially after her conversation with Matty at the start when they first had their one-on-one about them working together. But then we kind of saw like that group form. But Matthew was kind of on the outside of it because the first group was like the four of like Jean-Michael, Ani, Matty M, and Dee. Or no, and Lee.
And Lee, yeah.
And Lee, not Dee. And then Matthew was kind of looped in, but then Dee was kind of looped in. So there's kind of this like core six, kind of loosely.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like Matty and Mickey who are kind of giving like Purple Kelly right now. And then it's just like screw Allie. So.
Yeah. No, I think that's the correct read. It's honestly like pretty consistent with, I guess, what we've seen in Greenhouse normally, or at least it reminds me of what season 6 and season 4, maybe, of just like kind of this group that's taking control of the house. Everyone has different picks for who they want at the end. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's not an organized 6, but it effectively is a 6.
One pair that like I think I'm most excited about. I mean, I'm excited to see Papa and Dee just be like the chaotic duo. But one duo I'm just excited to see because I don't know how it will play out. Would be Jean-Michael and Ani. Mm-hmm. They like hit it off right away, and you can just tell when a duo is going to be good. Like they're loyal to each other, and I don't know. It kind of remind me of when I met Eddie, you know, in a game. Like it was just very cute, and so I hope they stick together and like aren't as clocked, I guess, as some of the other groups. Mm-hmm. So.
See, what I'm worried about is Ani and the whole Noah thing because she thinks that only Miss Dee knows about them being married. Kiara knows, Matty M knows, all these people know, and kind of how Miss Dee said, she's like, as soon as I need to use that, I can use that as ammo.
Eventually.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait till someone tries to pop off with it though, and everyone's like, "Yeah, like we know."
You girl.
All right.
They also think
only what that knows.
Do you think it'll last as long as Johnny and Emily?
No.
Which theirs technically didn't come out until like they were gone, and it had zero impact on the game. Yeah. And then in season 7, it was secret the whole time as well. So. I think this one will come out. I do.
I think so, especially when they kind of come together because both houses seem on the same page of like, our house has to stick together. And so someone's going to use it for whatever reason they need to, I think, sooner rather than later.
Yeah. One thing that I'm curious about y'all's takeaway from the week is comparing the Ani and Noah games split up. I feel like Ani very much... I guess they both had power, but to me, Ani played from the top the entire time, while Noah had to play more defense, which we will get to. I'm not even trying to bring up Noah. But for the Ani half of the conversation, just what's your takeaways about how she did so that we can compare it to Noah later?
It's giving Kenzie and Connor 2.0. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I think Ani's more of the calmer one. But I feel like Noah's going to be the more assertive one in terms of strategy and gameplay. I think Ani is going to be kind of more looped in socially, where Noah's going to have to play more aggressively. Yeah. Especially because, like, okay, we'll get to Noah, so I won't say anything about it.
Wait, were you going to talk about? Sorry, Matty. Were you going to talk about the voting out situation? because I said it was like a Mackenzie Connor 2.0, but like Noah later does make a point about how Ani voted him out in a past game. So I don't know.
But
I
even
feel like
then,
Ani could die on the hill versus I could see Noah being a little snaky and be like, haha, I got you.
people, yeah, but like people like Benjamin have said they've literally watched Ani and Noah play together, and Benjamin has no clue that they're married. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they weren't together. They started dating like years after their last game together.
Which is crazy. You're a matchmaker now. How does that feel?
Yeah.
I guess it's cool. I mean, they went to the same high school as me and went to the same college. So like I don't think I can take credit.
Lukey games bringing people together.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I feel like they both tried to play kind of similarly, to be honest, in the beginning. Like, I think they both had power. They both were just trying to play it how everyone round one plays it when they're, have power and they're trying to line up their ducks and get their people and figure out who they vibe with to have loyalty to. I guess I'm kind of talking about both of them, but the only reason why I think Noah's going to be a little more in danger is because people were like already targeting him before the game even started. Yeah. Where like Ani, I feel like doesn't have people going against her, so she's able to play a little more from the top and will have more social capital. But I don't know. I haven't seen enough of their play styles to say they really have played that differently. I think they're just in different situations.
And I do think that Noah had a different situation because, like you said, Matty, I do think he was playing it pretty cool. He thought he had everything figured out, but I think he did kind of underestimate the whole gamer side of things. And he just thought Ben's an easy out because he's quiet and he's not talking to anyone. But like he lit that fire under Ben's ass and Ben got it together and then he was squirming and like, oh shit, now I got to figure something out. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Okay, anyways, so we see nominations after all these talks.
Oh, wait, should we talk about the greed hunt first?
The seed hunt, yes. So the greed hunt.
Yes. So I love this twist because Taylor Luke, you are so nasty. And I just know that you like came up with it and you were like, but what if I did this? And what if I did
literally, I added the fly trap like literally the week of.
And I think you perfected it because like as we'll talk about, like both houses took very different approaches. But essentially for those who are watching who don't know the twist, which I don't know why you'd be watching if you don't, we have the greed hunt. And so essentially each house in their houses had the opportunity, each person could go for a seed. If half or more went for a seed, Taylor Luke made it a twist. So instead of those players getting a seed, anyone who did not take a seed would get 2 seeds. Also, if majority or more did go for the seed, it would activate a round-specific fly trap opportunity. That was a little jumbled.
Which is the original fly trap, kind of, because it's still however many players are remaining +2, but with these small houses, it's more likely that it'll get used.
Correct. And
which also we'll get to it, but
and is also triggered when there are more seeds in the house, so people can actually afford it.
Right, exactly. So did you want a season 2 repeat while planning this, or did you just want chaos?
Honestly, I just wanted chaos, and I wanted to have the Maddie Miller gag of
it can happen again.
Not again.
Yeah, literally.
Like part of it was just I expected no one to buy it. I did not expect it to get bought. Genuinely. I just thought it would be funny, not funny, but just like intense gag for round 1. It would be a good intro for Matty as a character because I could do the flashback easy. But I thought, which is kind of what the smaller house went to, I thought it would be more of, hey, we need to consider ourselves a team right now. So we need to approach this in a way that maximizes our seeds. So let's activate it, but just barely, so that we get 8 seeds as a whole, so that we can hold on to them to protect ourselves whenever it merges, and or start stocking up for the fly trap when it's the big house, is what I expected. But I guess the close quarters of it all, and the only way it works is if like people are really like all in on it. So as soon as people are uncomfortable with the way it's going, it's at least going to uproot. And then as soon as you're wasting seeds, the conversation starts drifting. So
yeah, I think it's kind of crazy though, because like the main house, they were like we want to be a team, but also like I don't want to talk about what I'm doing with the green hut right now, and they all kind of split off. Whereas like we'll see with the coffee house, they all were like, let's do this plan, and then they like it all became a mess after. So it's just interesting.
But we do see Matthew get kind of vocal. He literally has everyone in the living room. He's like, okay, you're taking a seed, you're not. You're taking a seed, you're not. You're taking a seed, you're not.
So like him, what a nasty guy.
Yeah, what is new with Matthew Papa?
Like the Navy. It's like, who appointed you, Colonel?
But you know, and we're just all going to point this out. If someone had done that to Matthew Papa, he would have thrown the biggest, nastiest fit and made their whole round by getting that person out.
Oh, and he'd say, let's go for the fly trap now. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. We're going to tell you what to do.
Yeah, very interesting that both houses had the same exact setup and they both took the complete opposite approaches.
I thought it was interesting. What do we think about Allie's decision not to pull? Because either way, she was cornered in a way that she would not get a seed. But do we think it benefits her to try to activate at least more seeds in the house so more people could be generous to her?
Let me just...
Do we think that she was thinking about Matthew was? Because he said he put himself on the no side in case someone extra did pull. Do you think Allie was thinking, oh, I'll get two then if too many people pull and they don't go with this plan that we made?
Potentially. I think at this point she was still just trying to find a way to like show good faith to the house to try to like start to get that footing. Is what I genuinely think her motivation was.
Did she know at this point that she was in such danger? I mean, she was nominated by that point, but
I mean, she said even during the flower picking ceremony that the people in the greenhouse were the people she talked to the least.
Yeah.
Like she told that to everyone on the couch, like right outside the door.
Yeah, I guess if I was in that shoe, I would have just said yes. So to Taylor's point, either I'm getting one myself or more are in the game, and then hopefully there's more to go around, and then there's then you may only need 3 people instead of 4 or 5 people to help you out. Like might be a little more easier to get the resources you need. So if I were her, I probably would have said yes, but I don't know. She was already nervous about how people, it sounds like she was already really in her head. So she's already worried about not coming off too strong. And then, going for the seed is kind of counter, acting that message you're trying to put out there. I would guess that was the motivation.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
And the hard part too is had Allie said yes, these are the following people that would have gotten the seeds. Dee Dee, Matthew Papa, and both Maddys. And I just do not see any of them except maybe Matty L even being willing to share those seeds.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I bet Matthew had that in mind.
Probably.
When assigning.
He's home like, yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes. So after the green hunt,
no,
you want to read off my notes or can I? After the green hunt is the nomination ceremony, and we have Ani who noms Mickey, who gets a seed, and Matty noms Allie, who does not. Thoughts? Especially, I guess, on the Mickey that we haven't touched on.
How do you guys feel about Ani and Mickey's conversation? Because I feel like Ani's kind of hinting to her that hey, you're probably gonna go up, but you're not the target. And now Mickey's like, she just told me I'm not the target, and now I'm up on the block. What do you guys think about that dynamic? Do you think Mickey's just kind of wasn't picking up what Ani was putting down?
I talked to, it might have been Papa after, because I was watching it along with him. I think she just misunderstood what Ani was saying, because like what Ani said, she did, you know, like Ani was true to what she was saying. I think Mickey just didn't understand maybe that, like, maybe Mickey thought that meant she wouldn't be nominated at all. I think it was just that kind of misunderstanding.
I agree.
And like Ani tried to let her down easy, and I think just got lost in translation.
Yeah, I think that's right. But kudos to Mickey for not like making too much of a noise about it, you know?
I am so impressed with how Mickey played this whole round. I would not have been as calm, cool, collected as she was. I would have been so, and she was just like, she had enough. Did she have enough to uproot?
She did.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No matter what, if I'm up round one and I have enough, I'm uprooting just to secure myself. The way that she was like able to read that, yes, everyone wanted Allie to go. She could keep these seeds to gain favor with all 7 other people moving forward is amazing. So that was like, I was so impressed with how she played this.
No, I'm willing to say a flawless campaign.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I've said so many times on this podcast, no matter what it is, if I'm up there and I have enough to uproot, I'm coming down. I don't care. I care more about safety. And she had the kahunas to sit up there with 3 seeds and say, well, I'm fine. It's okay. It's fine. Fuck Ani, but I'm fine.
and to consistently say, no, this is for us. Like, I want to keep it.
Like, just did not waver of, this is for our whole house moving forward as a team. This is a way to prove to y'all, like, I'm down with the the plan. It was very impressive to watch.
Yeah, I think everything just like aligns so perfectly. I think Allie's like crash out was just so visible. And so she kind of was just like, she showed she was upset, but then like remained, like you guys said, cool, calm, collected, but said over and over, like, I'm not going to use these seeds. It's the risk I'm going to take, but the risk is for us, like you kind of said.
So really, props to your mama. Really quick. So I forget, is this Mickey's first game?
This is Mickey's first live game. She's won an org before. Diva. I don't know how many she's played, but I believe she won her first org that she played.
Oh, period.
And then like was cast on this. So okay. I think this is her second experience like this ever.
That's awesome.
So while Allie continues her crash out, she decides to confront Matthew. And again, props to you, mama. She says, I heard you were spreading my name. Well, I heard someone was spreading my name, and it was you.
So good.
And she gagged Matthew a bit. So, but then this like turns in, then this turns into like Matthew kind of finessing her seed out of her. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, just to like give like at least from what we could see what happened before, it's like first she got in her head that, by her I mean Allie, she got in her head that people are coming after her because she's played before. And then we see John Michael kind of sprinkle in the fact that Matthew and Dee Dee are kind of keeking together. He says that in front of Mickey and I think Allie. And so I think it just created the perfect storm where Allie is like, it's Matthew Papa. He did this to me. But let's talk about Matthew Papa being a nasty bitch.
Yeah, I also want to say, just again, the timing of it all, like the time to throw out names that are not you is before you're on the block.
Yeah.
Now that you're on the block, you're throwing out what, 2 of the, I think 4 voters.
Right.
So yeah, I think the better move, I guess, at this point with this information is to go tell Matthew and Dee Dee that John Michael's talking about y'all. So like, look, I feel good with y'all, and I don't know if you're together, but if you are, can I also be in it? So like, let's uproot me and send John Michael's ass out of here. You know, I think is the better play. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, let's get to Papa being evil.
No, I agree with you. I think that is the better move.
Yeah.
Instead of pissing off 2 of the 4 voters, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
especially Dee Dee also, because Dee Dee was feeling bad saying all that stuff and like kind of pushing for an Allie vote. And then as soon as Dee Dee found out that Allie was going around saying, well, Matthew and Dee Dee are like this, Dee Dee's like, bye, girl.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. Like, one of the knobs is trying to put a target on your back. Like, you just solidified my vote against you. So.
I was trying to see if I had the actual. Yeah, honestly, it was just kind of a mess, that whole conversation. She confronts him. Sorry, my cat is like on a package. She confronts him. Papa swears it wasn't him. It's kind of a back and forth where Papa was like, I was the one who was advocating for you, actually. And then she's like, well, will you go like stop them from voting for me? Because she had asked him, hey, like what's going on and who are you voting for? And he's kind of like, hey, your name's out there and I'm probably voting for you. But somehow, whatever, she asks him to advocate for her, which if I were Papa, like there's no way in hell I'm about to advocate for the person who just came up to me and accused me of being the one to throw out the name. But Matthew Papa looks at the camera and says, I do not break pinky promises. Which
see, my only thing with that is like, okay, one, you already pinkied and kissed with Dee Dee, right? To ride together, which Dee Dee said she felt good about, specifically in her confessional, and said, well, we pinky promised, so I feel good about him. And then he pinky promises Allie and then goes up to the room and says, well, I pinky promised her, but I'm not going to do that. So then you're literally telling people that you already broke a pinky promise.
Yeah.
And a pinky promise on everything, I will say, is risky.
Girl, that was like his line for everything this round. Yes. On everything. With the wrist flick. On everything.
When that doesn't work, he'll go to on Taylor Swift.
Literally. I'm sure we'll see it.
Crossing my fingers.
Right.
Girl, if I've learned anything watching don't trust a pinky promise.
No, it's crazy out there. Yeah, I mean, whenever you're on the block, you're in charge of the campaign. Like, no one is going to advocate for you as well as you are. So, I mean, yes, absolutely. Some people are better suited to advocate for you for some people that they're closer to than you are, of course, obviously. But you need to at least be providing the talking points. Or if you don't know what the talking points are going to be, then they're not going to make it up for you. Or I'm thinking that this person is not actually going to advocate for me because they're not agreeing with me. They're not like giving me ideas on how to help save myself. So, yeah, unfortunately, just the onus is on you when you're nominated to say, these are the reasons why you should keep me, or make them up.
And if they're not good reasons, why should I advocate for you? Because then I just look like I'm sticking my neck out on the line for you.
Right.
And now I'm putting myself out there, and now I look sus because everyone already doesn't trust you. And now I look crazy because I want you to stay. Right. Especially if it doesn't sound logical for you to stay.
Yeah.
And if all else fails, do not go to Matthew Papa and expect him to be the one that does this for you.
Right.
Round
That's
one. Unfortunate pick.
So basically, Matthew makes his pinky promise. Then he starts trying to say, I will vote for you to stay 4-1. I don't even care if it's against everyone else, just so that way you don't go out 5-0. And then they start coming together with this plan with Lee and John Michael to flip the vote in a 3-2. Oh, so there was 5 votes, 3-2.
Okay, yeah.
Flip. And so Allie brings these 3 out, and Matthew is just like on it with this seed. And you just see Lee look up to the camera looks at the camera like, girl, did you really just do that? And props to John Michael, because John Michael's like, no,
and then we have John Michael who's like,
I'm probably not gonna save you. Like, I know. But at that point, Matthew didn't care. He already got the seed. He just wanted the verbal confirmation so he could get it.
He cut her off to tell her, fuck whatever you thought I said. I don't have your seed. It was crazy. Crazy.
Well, I said I would vote for you if you gave me your seat, and it's not in my pot. So right
No,
now,
literally. He was like, "You need to give it to me now."
Literally.
I wish I could hear the thoughts of everyone except Papa in that moment. Like as that was happening.
Girl, I would look at Papa crazy too. If I was Lee, I would look at the camera like, what is going on right now?
No, I know. Yeah, because it's 2 levels of wild. 1, that it's working at all.
Right.
2, that you're doing it in front of everyone and just complete slime balling what has up to this point been a pretty consensus elimination. So I just think it's so risky to out yourself this early.
Yeah.
As a total I don't even know the word. What
Matthew's giving them that ammo to use for later. Matthew did that to Allie round 1. He could do that to you too.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so scary for Papa because people know Papa does the pods. There are definitely some familiar faces for Papa. So maybe Papa's just saying fuck it, but it is crazy.
I think he was, because when I was watching it with him, he was like, I just didn't want episode 1 to be how it always is, of just everyone's so nicey nice. He was like, I wanted to just, I don't know, bring a different flavor to episode 1. And I was like, I guess you did. We'll see how it works out. But
I think it was the hook for the season, at least in my opinion.
I think he wants to play a nasty rotted bitch that he is. So he's gonna do it.
He said in his little intro, I'm here to play and lie and cheat and steal to win.
No, I know. Because this is how he's acting when it's more or less easy.
Right. Imagine when it gets down to when his ass is on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, so yeah, we go into the banishment. I think it's pretty obvious. Allie's gone here, 5-0. Matthew does not keep his promise. And then Allie tries to get a little dragon before she leaves. And again, Matthew cuts her off. I told them all I was doing that.
Girl, just
One other thing, and then we go back to shit talking Matthew. I do want to know is that Dee Dee threw out an idea right before the auction closed about them buying. Well, she first asked that little auctioneer if the seed count is good for just this house or for both houses. And so they come up with an idea with the seeds they just gathered to have someone buy a seed count and share it with everyone. Lee volunteers, which I think is a great move because you're now going to have people coming to you with information. And so Lee goes ahead and buys the seed count. So I am very interested to see at what point of the other house's chaos the seed count was purchased.
Did he get the seed count right then and there, or did it wait until the round was over, or how did that work?
I think we waited for the auction to be finished on both sides. So really, in general, we tried to line up their schedules exactly.
Yeah.
So in the coffee house, you see how they have a bit more talking after the seed hunt? That's because they did the seed hunt faster than the other one. So we were giving them more time to finish up at the main house. So I want to say since he bought it at the end of the auction, we were ending the auction on both sides. I might be remembering that wrong. So I think he would have gotten the seed count that was the status of them at the end. Honestly,
he might not know.
Honestly, no, it would be post their flight purchase.
Yeah. Okay.
But also, no shade. There was never a big moment of them reacting to the seed count. I would have done it as a maybe cliffhanger going into episode 2 of what the fuck happened. Though I think that would have given away too much. But straight up, I was just kind of hoping the viewer forgot about that because it doesn't ever get brought up.
Well, I do think it was good for Lee to do that because Lee won the 2 seeds in the challenge, and then Lee got one of the 4 seeds in the hunt. So I think with their whole little kumbaya, let's be a big group moving into the merge, it was good for him to be okay, well, at least I'm contributing something to the group.
Yeah,
especially because I was just gonna say, because Lee, again, I think was pretty quiet this round, but I don't think Lee had to be out there at all because Lee knew his ass was safe.
Yeah. Again, with like the race to show loyalty, like that's doing it. Like that's a concrete thing you can point to that people like now know that you've done something for them. So like you're gonna have a leg up over everyone else who hasn't done shit yet. But also I think that's the main takeaway from this seed purchase is like the continued like unification of this group. Yeah, I had a second thought, but like oh, also that was it. That was Lee's excuse for not giving Allie a seed. Like, oh, I'm already spending one. Anyway.
Yeah,
Which is a pretty good excuse. Everyone else is like, I don't know.
I just want to hold on to mine. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I purchased one for the whole squad, so like you got to find them elsewhere.
Right.
Yeah. I'm excited to see Lee's game. Lee is definitely a thinker who like falls into the shadows and then just like comes out when no one's prepared and like no one has enough like sway at that point to stop it. So I think this is good because I think it'll let him stay quiet, but he can like now has something that he can show that he's done for the group.
Lee is also nasty, so y'all keep your eyes on him because Taylor's laughing because he knows. Like Lee is just as nasty as Matthew, but he's just not as vocal about it until he needs to be. I love me some Lee Lewis.
I do too. Yeah, I think probably more so than anyone, he may be in the best position in the game after round one. You're in the majority house. Every single person, I think, when they were talking about who they felt great about, named him. So he's like got a ton of favor with everyone over there in the main house.
Do we want to do MVPs for round one now before we move into round two, or do we want to save it till the end?
I think we should do it now.
Okay. Who's y'all's MVP for round one?
So are we just picking from main house, like main house MVP?
Just main house.
Okay. I have my answer.
Okay, who?
Go ahead, you're the guest.
I think it needs to be Lee. I think push the unity narrative.
Picked all
yeah.
I just saw all of them, their looks, and I got you just picked all of them.
Was not a flower, so whenever everyone's recapping what happened in the round, they are not listing him as somebody who killed it. Like, you know what I mean? He's not going to be seen as a leader in the house. I think that'll be Ani or Matty most likely. Everybody's living for him. Didn't have to get messy. Didn't show his cards as someone who's willing to like rob someone at gunpoint. Which, yeah, no, I just think Lee played it as clean as possible.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Lee was my first choice for all of those reasons. But to throw someone else in the ring, I want to give more kudos to Mickey. I think we already kind of touched on it, but just to reiterate how well she maneuvered the situation. She also, like, I feel like everyone feels great about her. I'm a little nervous because, like, once you're a nominee, you could be a Matty L and up every round until the end of the game. But I think she will easily be able to like be picked up by people. I think she just gives out positive vibes, and the way she played it was just so impressive. So I'll give her a little kudos with mine.
Shout out.
Yeah.
No, I think Mickey's good. I think this whole like unity thing, we're not going to see much of it, especially with that other house. Like they came together at the last second, acting like they were going to do it. But with all that drama, I think there's obviously cracks, and Mickey can find which cracks to go into. Lee, of course. I do think Dee Dee played really good just because everyone feels great with Dee Dee. I think the only thing for her is this narrative now that her and Matthew are super close. But otherwise, like, everyone wanted to work with Dee Dee. So I think those are like the three for me.
Yeah, I think Lee was just the first pick for everyone. He played phenomenally. I was also going to say Dee Dee, but I will go with someone new, and I'm going to give Matty M some flowers. I think that she found herself in some power, and we saw multiple people wanting to be in a group with her, whether it was like the John and John Michael side or like the Dee Dee side with Matty. So I think she's in a very good middle spot, and I think in this cast she's not going to be seen as someone who's like disposable, and she's not in a spot where like people are already threatened by her, even though she has played multiple times.
Definitely a big turnaround for Matty compared to last round one.
I was
The
so
same
happy.
trauma.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so moving into the coffee house, we have only 8 players here now. We do see some dynamics here, which we touched on already. There is kind of this live gamer group with Lee Farrell, Sean, Jodalee, and Ben Wood. And then we see Benjamin right away kind of come out and say, well, I want Noah out. That is who I want gone out of here. But then obviously looking at the greenhouse challenge, they had to balance dominoes on a paddle, moving from one side of the cones to the other, giving very much pacer test in gym class. But we see that Noah and Benjamin and Sarah Catherine, right? They all win first, second, and third. So what do you guys think about this greenhouse?
I wanted a Sarah Cat first so bad, and I thought we were going to get it. I just wanted a newbie player to get the crown. But
I think she was killing it. It was so fun to watch because like the top 3 spots were like always shifting. And so like after the first 5, we were like, all right, Sarah Cat's gonna get first. And then like I don't know where these other 2 kind of came, traveling with more dominoes. So it was just fun to watch in general of like the different placements.
Yeah, I was impressed with Benjamin pulling it out. I mean, if you watch it, he struggled for the first like minute of it, but then started just going 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So no, I just thought that was impressive. I mean, obviously, I was rooting for Benjamin, just for anybody to travel from London, which he did, but also he was visiting family already. So like, I scheduled the season around him. Like basically, he applied and was like, I'm interested in playing. If you're hosting over the summer, I haven't chosen when I'm in the US, but I will be.
Oh, cool.
So anyway, I was like, okay, cool. Does this day work for you? And he said, yeah. So he was the first person on the cast.
Wow. Well, that just ruined everything.
The first person on the cast and the first person out. Girl. Well, I guess I can be second, but
anyway, I was thrilled for him.
I also just really liked, I think, the greenhouse makeup too, because the episode starts out with like a lot of talk with Noah, whether it's like first impressions of Noah, Benjamin not being a fan of Noah, like game wise. And so I was really intrigued to see what like the final flower pickings would be, because Benjamin's saying, hey, like I'm trying to get Noah out, like right before we find out who won.
What do you guys think about Jodalee kind of obsessing over these country accents and kind of being swooned by Noah after being worried about him?
It's my favorite thing in the world. My favorite line of the 2 episodes is in the introductions when Jodalee's like, and Noah's like, hi, I'm Noah. I'm from Mama Moo. I have a 9-month-year-old daughter. It's so funny. The 9-month-year-old is just like stuck in my head. It's the funniest thing in the world to me.
Jodalee is such a character and such like an anomaly. I'm just like, are
Literally.
you a real person? Like, what am I looking at? But that is who Jodalee is. I mean, it's not a front. It's not just for games. I mean, it is all the time. So, I mean, props to Jodalee for, being so authentic. It's just like, anytime Jodalee says, I'm just like, what are we doing? I'm just like my mind and my brain does not ingest what is coming out of Jodalee's mouth. But it is entertaining, if anything else.
Who called Jodalee the sexiest homosexual beekeeper they've ever seen? I forget who that was.
I think it was Benjamin. It was Benjamin.
Yeah.
The most fabulous.
I love Jodalee, because if there's one thing about Jodalee, is just Jodalee comes off with very positive energy, but Jodalee will cut a bitch so fast and I just love when Jodalee gives us their thoughts on everything. My favorite line was later on, it was something like, I'm 25 years old, I'm grown, and I can like make these decisions. I messaged it.
And I know everything, so.
Yeah, whatever happens, I know I'll make a good decision because I'm 25 and I'm grown, and I like what you said, like everything will work out, or I know everything. It was so good. So I'm very excited to see Jodie play. And as we see, Jodie had a huge impact this round. So let's get into it.
Yep.
So during the flower picking ceremony, which again, I kind of want to talk about Benjamin because he obviously does not trust Noah. And Noah's kind of trying to make the same deal that they made in the first house. Like, hey, whoever takes the seeds, it doesn't matter. We'll keep each other safe. And Benjamin goes, well, I don't know if I can trust y'all, or something along those lines, or I don't know who I can trust yet. How would you feel if you were Sarah Cat or Noah in that situation?
I think that this is the start of what now that I've watched, I haven't finished the Genius UK, so no spoilers. But I think that we're seeing some Genius style talking coming into this more vote style game. And I don't think it's a complete I know it's not a complete transition, because in the Genius, a lot of times, like, it's hidden roles, that type of thing, where you're trying to read people and figure out who actually is literally game incentivized to work with you. But here it's the social connections that determine those incentives. So I think that he kind of went to that default state of like just being upfront and honest while you try to figure out where everyone is in the match in the Genius, but is instead doing this in this much longer form game of the greenhouse. So that's what I think it was.
Well, like you said earlier, round one is all about that race to prove loyalty, or to, commit to loyalty. And like, that's your chance. And like, you don't need to let Noah know at all that you want Noah out or you're nervous about Noah. Like, if anything, make him not wary of you and then try to get someone else to do it later, And so, yeah, I can see that if, Benjamin is, a huge fan of the Genius and those kind of social hidden role games, like, yeah, you're like, I don't know who everyone is yet, so like whatever. But yeah, I would have for sure, whoever takes the 2 seeds, totally safe. Like, us 3, we got each other going forward, like everyone does, because it at least gives you a couple people that you feel a little bit good about or won't go for, after you for your first few rounds. So
do you think that the like final picks would have been different had Benjamin not said, hey, are we keeping that person safe, like whoever gets the seeds, or hey, is that person safe?
I think it was just a stutter step and you needed to choose one or the other. I think Matty has the better idea of just like saying, yeah, let's do it, because just leading with loyalty and like claiming honesty is the way to go at the start. You don't want to be a snake,
right?
But as soon as he like said that there was doubt, he should have been more aggressive. I think he should have said, I'm going to take the rose from Sarah Cat or whatever, so that Noah takes whatever else. He could have said it in a way that Noah would have stolen from Sarah Cat. Sarah Cat would have grabbed the seeds. I'm losing my train of thought. In my head, the move that I would try to make is make Noah choose the wrong flower, the unpicked flower, have Sarah Cat choose a flower, and then steal the flower from Noah.
Right.
Just basically kind of try to railroad the conversation to make Noah not immune. But then you have...
That's kind of what I was thinking. I was like trying to like, while I was watching, I was like, could Benjamin have like fixed this? Based on like the white elephant rules.
Yeah. I guess the better thing would be for him to say, I'm going to pick the 2 seeds.
Right.
So they leave it for him and then steal.
And be nasty.
But the best move is to avoid nastiness at the start.
Yeah, I don't think I think generally first and second get a flower and third gets seeds in this kind of situation, because those people just kind of want that secured safety. So I think I mean, if I was in there, I probably would have went for a flower too, just because it's like, oh my God, round one, like I'm good. I'm not for spook. So I think that's why first and second usually try to snatch up a flower anyways. So I think no matter what, you know, Ben and Noah were going to nominate someone, and Sarah Cat would have had the seeds anyways.
Yeah.
Agreed. But after pretty quickly, we get a couple, or after the flower picking, we see a couple strategy talks between Lee F telling Noah that Lee is interested by Noah. Noah immediately lies to Lee and says that the only people he knows of are Matty and Dee Dee. So I am interested to see when, I assume all of this is going to come out. So I'm interested to see how Lee takes that. And then Lee proceeds to tell Noah that he's getting along with Sean and Kiera. Noah agrees and then kind of adds Jolie into the mix of people they want to work with.
What do we think about Noah's strategy to try to pick these people up? Did y'all notice the similarities in every fucking conversation that I did?
Yeah, I mean, maybe honest was that because I feel like everyone's like, I love your vibe. I would love to work with you. Like that's what everyone says. But I don't know. Maybe I was also charmed by the accent. I have no
idea. My thing is
powerful.
Yeah, if I'm Noah and I'm in the greenhouse round one, I'm gonna tell everybody I got their back if I don't plan on nominating them.
Yeah.
Because I want all these allies in case there's a bigger probability that if I promise everyone the safety and I give it to them, there's a bigger probability I'm not going to end up on the block next round.
Right.
Obviously, before this whole round derailed and he almost was sent packing. But shit, I can pull out my country accent.
Go get your oil changed.
Yeah, literally.
Mom who works 2 jobs.
Yeah. I guess though really I think this is something you could get away with like almost always, but I think just kind of the similarity of like it was like the way he said it, like he would use very similar words or very similar, like it's just your energy, like I'm getting like you know what I mean, which I know everyone says that, but like it was particular enough that just if anybody compared notes, I feel like it could have led to that thing. Though Maddie's right. Is everybody's talking like that? I guess I was just on Noah unnecessarily.
My favorite word. You're right. No, just kidding.
But don't you think it kind of backfired on him? They didn't really compare notes about those specific words, but kind of towards the end when his ass was on the line, they kind of were like, well, Benjamin's giving us more substance with things, even though Ben Wood was saying that about Noah, saying that he could have more substantial conversations with Noah. I feel like Benjamin was giving more kind of game talk and like logical reasons, more so than Noah just being like, well, I like your vibe. You know what I mean?
At the very end, for sure. I'm probably jumping a little ahead, but I think at that point it didn't matter. Like, unfortunately.
Also, Benjamin did kind of like start to like spiral slightly, if y'all caught it, because Benjamin starts telling people that he wished he didn't get a flower, and that at one point he said he thought like he was going to nom 2 people, and like I was kind of confused by that. I was like, oh, you thought you were going to be able to like have all the power. So I think once, like we said, the slip up happened, I think that's when Benjamin started getting a little bit nervous. Like, did I speak up too soon? Now I do have to like have a target, and just kind of kept leaning into like, I don't want to nom anyone, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think it's just, again, the same thing. You don't want to be the source of anxiety for people. You want to be the source of steadiness. I think it's a similar mistake to what Allie made. Like, Noah's telling everyone how much he likes their energy, and he's just like, everybody's a waterbender whenever it's around. But I think Benjamin jumps to the game analysis pretty quickly, that I think he misses some of those like early connections that he could have made. And again, I think that's the Genius style of play. You know, like whenever you watch a Genius episode, the first thing they're doing is talking, what's even the tactics? How do you even approach this game? And I think that that's typically the and I just think was his first frame of thinking. First, I'm going to talk about how am I going to approach this at all tactically. But I think because you missed that first, like, more emotional, like, I'm going to make eye contact with you so intensely right now.
Yeah.
You just don't have the same solid ground to build that off of.
I think also kind of when we're getting these groups, who was it that? Oh, I think I was going to kind of touch on again, like the different like kind of factions people were putting this house in, whether it was because they were a seasoned player, a Taylor Luke player, or like a new player. I feel like Sarah Cat kind of starts this lead as well, to kind of like calm Benjamin's nerves, and just it kind of like spreads like fire. Like there are these groups, and like how are we going to nom based on that? Which I thought was interesting.
What do you guys think about Sarah Cat starting to spread this like gamer thing amongst the other players? Because I feel like they talked about the different groups, but Sarah Cat was really the one going around saying, well, there's these seasoned gamers. We should probably be worried about these seasoned gamers.
If you do not know who the seasoned gamers are, you should not be talking to people about this. I think it was smart for her to get on other people's radars. She just did not know who to tell to, because I remember Lee being in a conversation where she was talking about the seasoned gamers and like her talking to someone else who had played Taylor's game. So her mind's definitely turning, but I would have definitely considered that maybe like an inside thought for round one, because people are going to get worried about her for that reason.
Yeah, I think that's correct. This is the way I like to play these types of games, is to try to just like build just like build the larger, like, how's the table set? Mm-hmm. So I like those types of parameters of like saying there's a group like this and a group like this. It doesn't have to be real, it doesn't have to mean anything, but like as long as it's a narrative, it's a fact in the game. Right. Just the fact that it's something being discussed. But I think that the real way to play with it is to try to play beyond those lines. You set those lines, then play beyond them. Mm-hmm. So like, I think to try to push that type of narrative, and I think that's what Benjamin was trying to do, of like consistently like laying it out and even telling everyone, including the seasoned gamers, or even especially the seasoned gamers, that's how he saw it. But I think the misstep was saying like, I don't want to make you upset because you're part of the group. Type of thing. I think the better thing is to say, I want you to be my contact in that group. It's no shade. I just recognize that you have tighter bonds with that, but I want you to be my contact with that. And then maybe if we grab one more person from the other side, then we can be like the artificial thing to put on top of that parameter that I'm putting on the game. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, I think that narrative style of play is just like my style. But I feel like everyone was playing into the roles in a way that like was missteps. So like Sarah Cat talking too much about the gamers is a misstep, I think. I think Benjamin talking too much about the gamers and keeping himself outside of it was a mistake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So for sure. Well, I think Lee Farrell even tried to give him like an in that aspect where Lee is like, I'm not going to be upset with you if you nominate one of the three people you're working with. Like, I don't see that as a shot against me particularly, especially in a first round. Like, you and I have our own dynamic and relationship in the game. And like Benjamin just couldn't get past that. I think he just like was so nervous about making any sort of enemy round one, which I understand, but like, I don't know. I think Lee tried to throw him a bone there too, of like, you know, it doesn't always mean like you're coming after me because you're nominating someone you think I'm close with.
Right.
So.
And then I think the next biggest thing that happened was Ben actually threw out the idea to have the people that they were with, which included Sarah Cat, Ben, Kiera, and Sean, for the four of them to pair up with one of the four others and basically activate all of the extra seeds. And I think the way Ben proposed it was so smart. because not only did he do it in a way that's like, hey, let's get our house to have all of these extra seeds compared to the other side, but did it in a way that like I feel like he made it seem like that group of 4 was coming up with the overall idea and pulling other people into that to make it happen. What was your thoughts on it? Because it was so different than what the main house did.
Totally opposite.
Yeah, I think it's smart. We've kind of already touched on it, but like getting all those extra seeds and this like whole pair thing, like that automatically gives you someone that you could get closer to in a one-on-one basis, on top of pushing this group narrative, if that's what y'all want to roll with, which is kind of ironic since Ben pushed it and they're all saying that we want Ben out. It's risky, which obviously ended up in Ben's favor because he was safe at the end of the day, but I think it was smart.
This was the lines that I thought it would go along.
Yeah.
Of just, we know the other house is going to do this, so they might be maximizing their seeds, so we need to do the same.
Yeah, I think this is the right way to play the twist into your favor. Something I try to do sometimes is if there's a twist, instead of being afraid of it and trying to like ignore it or stop it, find out how you can play into it, because it's going to happen regardless, which is hard to do, especially like with a fly trap that's so scary. Like if you can just stop it from happening, then you don't have to worry about it. But if there's a way you can play into any twist to work out for you, you are miles ahead of everybody else who is just hoping it doesn't happen or still trying to understand how the twist works, whatever. Like if you just lean into it, it is kind of like a high risk, high reward situation. It doesn't always pan out, but you know, in this case, it worked out extremely well for, I would say, almost everyone besides Benjamin.
Yeah. And what's interesting is like, as soon as they like make this plan, it kind of ends up happening where there's almost like 2 things going on at once. We have like everyone kind of talking about Ben being a nom because Ben's not connecting. And we also have Jodie kind of like accepting the temptation of, hey, we have so many seeds. Why don't we fly trap? So I just think it's like really funny to like watch both of them kind of slowly happening and then like full force go towards the fly trap.
Yeah.
But
I think it really brought this house together too. Like, I don't think the main house is that kumbaya, we're really tight and gonna work together, because I don't know. I think they all have their own like interest in, you know, themselves. Where like the coffee house being a member down, I feel like you have a little bit more of a motivation to like be like, we really got to band together, and like in case they're all grouping up. And I think it was Kiara. I was like, once y'all made that announcement, now I'm double guessing myself. Like, we saying it right now. Oh gosh, Kiara,
like Sierra.
Sierra.
So sorry, honey. Kiara was like, listen, if the talks are happening, I want to play. So like, let's get our group together. Let's get our team. Let's do it. I think her doing that really helped kind of like ignite the move to really happen. And she was like, here, take my seed. Let's do it, you know? And then like we've said all, you know, podcast episode, this is about proving and racing to get your people and your loyalty. That's the thing of like, yep, I'm down with y'all. Here's my seed. That's an action. Like, it's not just words. It's a tangible thing people can hold on to of like, she's willing to buy into it. So I think that helps solidify them probably a little closer. And that's probably a tighter group moving forward than kind of how the other house played it.
Because it's a literal buy-in in a way that just like voting for the consensus target isn't.
Right.
You know? So yeah, no, I think that's a good read.
What do you guys think about Kira kind of going to Noah and saying, hey, I actually know that you and Ani are married? And Noah admits it after saying that he was going to keep it a secret. Do you think this is his way of buying his loyalty with Kira before nominations?
I mean, what else are you going to do? Like he's kind of caught in that moment. I think he kind of got a little lucky, which we hear later, how she's like, I think keeping Noah, who has connection on the other side, is a good thing for us, which I don't know that I would have trusted that or bought into that totally, but that's her read and that's her game, so good for her. But I think that also added to this of like, she is thinking multiple rounds ahead of, this is a way for someone to bring me into the other house if they are super well connected. So I think it was a good move on her part to set herself up to gain more favor with people that she hasn't really met or gotten to play with because they are in the main house. So I think that's why she kind of put him in that spot of like, I know y'all are together, but like, I'm not worried about it. Like, I feel good with y'all. So I think she's using that information to her advantage right now. And yeah, I mean, Ben was, no, that's not my wife. Like, the only option he has at that point is to be like, oh yeah, like, I don't know who all knows, like, but thanks. Like, yeah, I'm sure when I get over there, I can put in a good word for you. Like, that's him playing his game based off of what, Kiara's doing.
And I think that does go back to Kiara's interview where she's like, I did my prep this time. And last time I had good connections, but I wasn't thinking rounds in advance. And this time I'm going to predict people's moves based on the information I know. So yeah, I think that's showing that she is like actively thinking about that strategy and utilizing it. And then obviously we see when the whole fly trap conversation comes up, she kind of starts being the one to advocate for Noah to stay. And kind of telling him, hey girl, get it together, you're kind of in trouble right now.
No, exactly. Like because there's the whole conversation of Benjamin saying like, Noah anticipated that he would have to like help you out, and he just did that better than me and faster than me, again with the race to loyalty. But it was really Kiara who tipped off Noah like, hey, look, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen that way, so make sure that you're the first one to get a good word in, So I think it was a super strong episode for Kiara as far as like just really anticipating and acting proactively.
Yeah, I think she definitely killed it. And I mean, like, none of us are surprised because Kiara has like killed it from the start. But stuff like we talked about, like the Noah and Ani thing, she could have gone, it can go one or two ways depending on how you approach the situation. Because if she came in too hot, Noah might be threatened and like turn that against her. And like there's a thing where like knowledge is power. But I think just how she did it, like we all said, it opened up allies. We also see her doing this with Ben as well. Kind of like, I don't know, putting in a good word when like no one else is like kind of on his side in the moment. So I think just the way Kiara consistently approaches people, she's going to get what she wants, and she's going to do it in a way where people aren't going to think that it is her pushing for it.
And I think it does go back to that thing where it's like, y'all can like pledge loyalty to this house, but like that group is not going to last forever. And so she's thinking about, how can I integrate myself with the other side? And if Noah does have these connections, like everyone says, if I get in good with him and save his ass right now, then hopefully he can stick his neck out for me next round when we're all together with his people again. And Benjamin didn't help himself when he didn't offer up them seeds. That's another story.
No, I know. That's
I think, yeah. But I think it's safe to get into nominations. We see, well, actually, I guess if we want to back up just for another second, we kind of see Ben's name floating around, which we've talked about. But the whole like Sean being a pawn plan, we see that Noah and Benjamin kind of like swap, I guess, like who they say they're comfortable with like nomming. Like I think both had, or was it the other house? I think both had said that they wouldn't nom someone. And so
that was
kind
the
of
other
like,
house.
Okay, never mind then. Anyways, I do know that Noah went around doing his rounds, as a lot of people do, round one, saying like, hey, like, want to be a pawn, you're not going to be the target. And that, yeah, I forget what I put here.
It's Benjamin doing that, and he outright says, I think it needs to be Sean or Lee.
Right. Which is crazy.
Which was crazy. I think that's what I was really getting at when I was like playing too hard into the like set storytelling parameters. Because I think, and to do it so publicly and not one-on-one,
Right.
is just, again, like, you need to engender stableness in people, not anxiety.
Yeah.
And to put people on the spot is like the fastest way to get people anxious in the game. So I think that that pitch could have been done to them privately, with the same type of thing that I was talking before. Like, this is like what it's looking like. I want to make sure that y'all are the two that make it out, type of thing. But anyway, I think that was another way to just like get people off guard.
Yeah.
And sorry, I think another thing that's important to touch on is Ben's conversation with Benjamin, where Ben was offering Benjamin an alliance with the gamer guys, and saying, like, just put me up so that I get a seat if Noah's planning to put me up anyway. And I don't think Benjamin even like registers what Ben's asking, because he's thinking, like, you could tell that he's just like running the numbers and thinking too hard, that the second Ben tells him that Sean and Lee have to work with him, he's like, oh, then I need to go talk to him. Like, you could even like see it on his face.
Right.
Like, stop listening to Ben completely.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it's that like analytical first thinking that ultimately costs Benjamin, because I think this is the conversation that was the disconnect between the two.
Or even utilizing the strategy of the fact that he nominates first and then would have to put Noah on the spot. And then Noah would have to go back on his word with someone, which would then inevitably screw up some of Noah's relationships, which is what he wanted to do, was screw up Noah's game. Yeah.
That's a good point.
So yes, we get into the nomination ceremony, and Benjamin nominates first and nominates Sean, and then Noah nominates Ben Wood, which ultimately gives Sean a seed. And another thing with this whole twist, what do you guys think about them? Because I think they talked about it lightly, but I think they talked about the problem of nominating Sean and Sean being Ben's partner in the seed hunt. Do you think that was a smart move for them to nominate Sean?
Yes, I think that was brilliant. Just because he has no incentive to give Ben the one seed he was promised. So now Ben truly has only one seed, can't do shit. You would think.
Was that like their motivation? Like, did they think about that, or was it just like it ended up being Sean, so it ended up being that way?
That was explicitly their strategy.
It was? Okay. I don't remember. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, you're good. It's a long fucking episode.
Yeah, that is. I don't know why I thought it was just like, oh, it's Lee or Sean, and it just ended up being Sean. But no, I mean, yeah, if they were partners in the seed hunt thing, then yeah, it's also kind of like an easier excuse to be like, I'm putting you up, because the talks of wanting Ben Wood to be the one to go anyways were like already there. So it's an easy way to be like, I'm gonna put you up so you don't give yours to Ben, and like you already have extra then.
Not to mention, we are talking single digit rules, so we have like uproot passability. So I think also the most obvious person that you'll pass it to is your partner, in my opinion. But anyway.
Right. Well, we have our noms, and the auction opens, and we have Taylor's nasty fly trap that also opens up given the greed hunt of the round. We kind of already talked about they paired up, so we kind of knew that this was going to happen. But right off the bat, after nominations happen, Ben asks Sean, so both the noms, if Sean is interested in the fly trap, with which Sean kind of pretty quickly shuts down, saying that he thinks it'll hurt his game. But Ben kind of talks to him, is like, hey, I think I might be able to gather seeds such as Jodeli's. And Sean says that he would be willing to be the last contributor to the fly trap, which I feel like is such a common theme. I feel like it's the right approach of Sean to say that. But what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, in Sean's confessional, like right after that conversation, Sean's like, usually I'm not scared of a twist, or like I want to take advantage of a twist, but like I don't really want to do that right now. And I think we kind of already touched on, girl, take advantage of every twist you can. I personally don't agree with being the last contributor, because then I feel like if I'm getting a seed from XYZ, or sorry, WXY, Z is going to be the one I'm most worried about at the end after I use that fly trap, to where I'm going to trust the first 3 that gave me seeds first more than the person that wanted to contribute last. But that's just me personally.
I will soft disagree.
Yeah.
Because Sean's the other nom. So if the plan falls through and Sean's the first to give the seeds, now Ben has all the seeds and can save himself, and now it's fuck Sean. So like I don't think that would happen, and I think like it would take a Matthew Papa type of slime gutter move to like just completely abandon the person who was the first one to donate to you. But also if it's your only chance of survival. So I don't know. That's what I think Sean was getting at. But
I guess I can't.
I feel like normally yes, but because Sean
I guess
was the nom,
I guess I can't say shit because Brady was the first one to give me a seed. I said, I guess I can't say anything.
Yeah, that's true.
So
You
I'll
already
bite my
had your
tongue.
rotted
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Edmund. I agree with what you're saying. Only because Sean was the other nominee, it's like a different situation. And I think Sean gets there eventually. Maybe it's in a later conversation. But yeah, I would have been like, I'm happy to do it, but like I'm on the block right now. So until like we get everyone to, I would be like, let's get our 4 or 5 people together and we can all do it at once. Like, let's all confirm as a group who it's going to be used on. Like, that's what I probably would have done.
If I was Sean, though, why was Sean giving 3 seeds and Noah only had to give 1? Like, Noah's ass was on the line. And at that point, you're already about to have the fly trap. No, Noah, give both your seeds. You don't want to go home, give them.
That's also why I like to be kind of like later in the group. Like, oh, you only need 1 more? Perfect. But yeah. I guess like Sean also probably was like pushed into a corner a little bit because it's like they are canceling the round for the nom. So I think Sean probably felt a little bit more pressure to like make it happen, even though he wanted to kind of like wait to make sure it was happening.
So yeah, what do you guys think about, so obviously Kiara starts to kind of campaign for Noah to stay and to send Benjamin out, in which Ben's still kind of going back and forth. I don't know, depending on some of the conversations. But then Benjamin kind of does not want to give up his 2 seeds when it's basically an ultimatum at that point. And then Ben Wood walks right over to Noah because he tells Benjamin straight up, well, Noah's going to give me his seed. So if you're not going to give me any, like, you're gone.
Like that just answers the question for me.
Right. Like, I don't need to waste my time in this conversation anymore.
And I think that's kind of like a huge turning point because there was a conversation with the group where Jodalie's kind of saying what's happening because that group had recognized that they were polling for Jodalie's seats. And Benjamin's like, please do not do this. And then once it becomes like town meeting outside the coffee house, that's when Jodalie, I think it's like really pissed off because he was just like, Noah comes out and was just saying, hey, let's not do this, and was very quick to do it. So I think that was like the turning point of like everyone's like, this fly trap is happening, like may the bidding begin.
And speaking on that town meeting, they're all sitting there, and I think Lee is the one that's like, hey, we should probably split up because they're coming outside. And they're still sitting there, and then Benjamin is just standing behind Noah while Noah's lounging in his chair like, I'm good.
Yeah, Noah's like,
which was so awkward.
Seeds, like
so awkward. He's like, we're gonna be all together, we're also unified, and Benjamin is just standing behind him like, hey, how y'all doing? Like, literally.
Yeah, I also do want to give Kiara the credit for the influx of seeds because she was the first one to put it in. And I think that it was a domino effect from there. Though I do agree, like Noah helped push it over.
Yeah, no, Kiara definitely put it in the seeds, put in the actual seeds first. She was like,
But yeah, I have more thoughts on the Benjamin Ben of it all, of the conversation where Benjamin's like, well, I mean, I'll just give it to you, but then you might just take me out.
I know. Stop pushing that narrative.
One, stop pushing that narrative, but 2, like, when you're desperate like this, or again with this like race loyalty or whatever, like this is another angle of it. Like sometimes like doing something that is so blatantly dumb but just not questioning it, I think it's more about what you're communicating your thoughts are to the other person. That hesitation shows non-trust, which can then be reciprocated. But immediately like saying, okay, I'll give it to you. I want to know out from the start. Let's do it.
Right.
I think that is much, much different than the conversation we see.
Oh,
you know, just like, I'm not sure. Let me think about it. But jumping in immediately, even with that risk, just don't acknowledge it. And if you don't acknowledge it, then the other player thinks, oh, it's not even a thought in your head.
Right, especially when Benjamin comes back after all this happens, and he's like, well, I'm just going to give you my 2 because if I go out, I want you to have my seeds. Well, then again, you're pushing that narrative that you might take me out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you came back around and you're like, oh, now, like, I already gave you your chance. And now you're trying to save your ass when I gave you the opportunity before when I was trying to make this move.
No, genuinely, keep all your doubts. Like, bite down on your doubts. Do not ever voice your doubts, because the more confident they think you are in them, the harder it is for them to, 1, think of you as doubting them, obviously, but 2, I think there's an emotional element of like, oh, this person is relying on me, not this person thinks it might happen, so it's okay that I do this to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, girl, as Abby Lee Miller said, save your tears for the pillow, save your doubts for the confessional. Like, talk it all out to the camera. Do not do it to these other people because they will use it all against you.
Benjamin also did, like, towards the end, gave like a very emotional, very like, these are the facts. And it was so good. Like that he said exactly like what the fuck he needed to say. It just was like a little too late after being a little too wishy-washy after just like a domino effect. But like, I think had Benjamin started off with that, I think it would have like gone in Ben's head a little bit more, especially when Ben was like, this is what I was trying to do right away. And Benjamin's like, sorry, I didn't recognize it, but like, listen, I really think no is the threat here, blah, 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 blah. I think it could have worked.
For sure. It would have been a totally different narrative, episode, everything, if Benjamin would have led with the round with that conversation. Because I think when it all started, like, well, we see Jodie ended up wanting Benjamin to stay even after all of it. Lee Farrell mentions like this whole wishy-washy, now he's going to be all against us. Like, that's why Lee wanted Benjamin to go. So like if all of those doubts would have been reserved, I think Lee would have been more in favor of Benjamin staying. Lee already tried to make that connection earlier of like, you and I can have our own thing going on. Like, there's so many people, I think, that he like made very wary of the whole situation. You know, that it just, that conversation was amazing, or like that pitch was perfect. It was just at the very end when it needed to be at the beginning or even midway through the round.
It should have been right after Jodie flipped his mind and was trying to tell Ben Wood, hey, maybe we should keep Benjamin. And then Benjamin and Ben had that conversation like behind the coffee house. Before they all did like the town meeting up in the front of it. Like, that's when Benjamin should have been like, hey, let's do it. Like, and that gave that pitch. Because, his pitch was great, and he gave all the right reasons. Facts too little, too late, girl. Facts.
Because Ben started to... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, because you can have perfect analysis. You need that bond first.
Right.
You just need it. Because otherwise, like, even if you're correct, like, they'll think, but you could be holding something. Or, like, that's not necessarily true because I have no reason to believe you. You know? Anyway, sorry.
I think the group consensus decision was already made at that point too. So now Ben's not going to go against this group that he just like pulled this move off with. So that's I think why it was too late. Sorry, Taylor, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Pretty much Taylor said what I was like kind of going with anyways. They needed the bond. Right when Ben was telling Benjamin like, hey, I was trying to connect with you here, Ben would be like, oh, sorry, I completely missed that. But like, I didn't nom you. And then, like we said, like, use that. Like, hey, I didn't nom you. I didn't want this. Let's be on the same page and run from there.
Right.
I think the timing just was unfortunate.
Because I think you see the exact opposite approach from Noah. Because, like, the Lee Farrell comment, if you could put it back on the screen, Like Benjamin was like asking people to shake their pots, trying to figure out who was giving to it. But at that point, it's the ball is already rolling. So all you're doing is showing how upset you can be and how betrayed you are by everyone. You know, while Noah, I think, keeps leaning into I feel good with you. I feel good with you. Like he stays calm, like Mickey levels of calm.
Right.
That again, it's that same type of I'm not even questioning you. You know, so like of course you're gonna keep me because like our energies just match so perfectly, you know. So I'm gonna go to the person who seems panicked. I'm gonna eliminate that person instead of the person who just didn't for a second doubt me, you know. So props to Noah for that.
But like Noah's like approach also wasn't perfect in the sense of like he was like, Ben, I don't want you to have it. Like I know I'm right. Yeah, he didn't want Ben to have it. And so I think if like he was calm, but he did start off kind of weird. Like, I only want this person to have it. Like, he still tried to control the situation.
Yeah.
So I think that was just like another thing that coulda, shoulda, woulda been capitalized on. But then when Benjamin started freaking out, I don't blame Noah for just kind of like, I'm gonna sit this one back.
Yeah.
See, but like going back to the whole social game of it all, this is why I always say your social game will push your strategic game.
Yes.
No matter how strong your strategic game is, if you don't have the social game to back it up, you're not going to have more power in that situation. And while Noah wasn't sitting here talking all this strategy, he's building the social bond, which is going to push that strategy further when they do go back to the other house.
Yeah.
Well.
Alrighty, so anything else to add before we get to the fly trap?
I think so. I can't think of anything else. We could talk about Sarah, like being gone.
Oh yeah,
for something. She said she had to use the restroom, but she was gone for a while.
I think she was strategically like staying away.
She's like, I don't want to be in this.
Sonic Gate Part 2.
Yeah, I think she would get a Red Bull slushie.
Oh, that's great.
I just think that's so interesting, and I think that's another potential angle for Benjamin. You know, of just like Sarah Cat's not even out here. You know, like you save both me and Noah if you take out Sarah. You know, she didn't donate, type of thing. Like I don't know. I think it's a Hail Mary, but it might be better than some of the other things on the table. Right. I know after the fact from just talking to Ben about like this round specifically, Ben like was considering Sarah.
Oh, interesting.
Like I think it's something that could have happened.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I would have sent Sarah Cat out. Oops. She seems like she's gonna be a yapper, and I don't know if I could yap against that. Not in a derogatory way, but like I don't know. I feel like she's gonna be good with her words, Miss Communications or whatever she does, right? Miss Corporate Girly. And she says she knows, she seems very confident in her ability to talk to people. And I think that's gonna be her strong suit. I think she's obviously smart enough to get the strategy part of it after a few rounds. But I think she might need like a guide to help her along the way a little bit until she fully clicks into it. So she would worry me, honestly.
Me too. Because she already said, like, she might not have the exact approach down yet, but she's made it very clear that we should get out the threats. And so I think if I'd heard talks of like someone who's played games before, like that being like a criteria for who to watch out for, I think I would be a little worrisome about that too.
Yeah, she strikes me as a more aggressive type of Courtney player. You know, like never watched this shit before, doesn't really know it, is obviously an extremely magnetic personality. But I think that she was ready to get her hands dirty faster than Courtney was. So I think that's a good read.
Okay. Anything else before we get into the probably very obvious results of the fly trap?
Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Those are pretty much my main thoughts.
With that being said, Ben said there's only room for one of us in fly traps, Benjamin. Very sad. I was hoping to see Benjamin stay a little bit longer. I think I just like the way his gears are really turning.
Yeah.
So I can't wait till he flies back next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go ahead and do MVPs.
Sure.
I'm like, should I jump on it before y'all take her?
Her.
I'm gonna say Kiara.
Mhm.
So maybe that's not who y'all were thinking. I'm gonna say Kiara with an honorable mention to Lee F. I feel like they kind of stayed cool, calm, collected, like behind the chaos, but Kiara was pulling a lot of strings, especially with the fly trap and just building relationships. And I think Lee was also doing a really good job of like building relationships without it like catching up to him. No one really seemed to be threatened by him.
I'm gonna give it to Ben. I think there is no more hopeless place you could be in one of these games than the consensus target at the start of the first round. You know, everybody wants to play it safe. Everyone wants to just find a consensus and move on. So to be that person and bounce back in such a fierce way, like if you watch the first like 30 minutes of the episode or so, his name is thrown out, I think, by everybody as soon as like the flowers are divvied out.
Mm-hmm.
So to flip it around is like truly one of the fiercest things I've seen. I like Kiara's fierce, and I Kiara's my number 2. But I think having the steady head to like flip it, I think is just so fierce. Like you have to give it to.
I think I was like in the mindset because the first house was so calm, picking like the best position versus like, yes, I think Ben was an MVP. He really did eat that shit this round.
Yeah, I want to give it to Ben, my fly trap sister. Like Taylor said, literally, if you are the target round 1, there's really no coming back from it most of the time. And to be able to collect all those seeds, granted, I do think Kiara was a big push in flipping it also because of her connections, but they just really underestimated Ben. They were like, oh, he's quiet. They wanted to put an easy target on him, but like I said, once you put that fire under his ass, he got it together and he was ready to talk, and he was talking and getting all the seeds that he needed to get, and he did in the end. So I'm going to give it to Ben.
That's a good point, which I don't know him super well. I know like of him, seeing him around in other games, and I was like, my perception of him is not, I don't think he's like that quiet. Like, I don't know where this is coming from, but maybe just like being there, like first interactions when everyone arrives. So it's really interesting. And then he does kind of, bring it for the rest of the round. But he mentioned that in his interview. He's like, I've played as a hero. I've played as a villain. I've played from the top. I've played from the bottom. I've been the underdog. So to see him be able to adapt so quickly and so like effectively and not just like spiraling out of control was like really good to watch. So yeah, he also takes mine. Kiara is my second as well. So I think she is a little more, for the same reasons y'all said, so I won't repeat them. I think she is probably the best setup for later on, maybe from this house, just because I talked about that from the main house. So she's one that I'm excited to see what happens when they all come together. I think she's gonna try to play both sides or bleed the line a little bit and try to make that work for her favor. And I hope she is successful because I stand her and hope she does very well. Yeah. So I'm excited to watch her. I think she can do it.
I think another interesting thing about Ben is like, there's a lot of players I think this would put a huge target on happening round 1, but for whatever reason, I feel like just because of everything that happened with like the Noah situation, I do think like Ben might be able to lay low and be like, yeah, I did this big move, but also like I was about to go home. Like, can you blame me? And I do think he's going to recover well from this, just given the nature of like the Gamers Alliance and whatnot. I think it'll be easy for him to like kind of brush this off, but I'm curious to see like how the groups interact and tell them about their week 1 experience.
Yeah. Before we look into next week, I do want to flag one more heartbreaking thing about this round.
Oh no.
Is that Benjamin was one of the people who took So if he would have chosen not to take, there would have been no fight.
Oh.
Yeah. Makes you think.
And also the fact that he literally won the
Mm.
challenge, first place.
Seems to happen that way.
It does.
Girlies get flight trapped. Round one.
Another sunflower in the books
Right.
that gets fly trapped.
Mhm. But anyway, I wanted to make sure I had that fact on record.
Yeah, that is interesting.
But yeah, any predictions for next week as we wrap things up?
Can we ever truly predict the greenhouse?
No.
I kind of I don't want this like house versus house thing, in my opinion. I think it'll be a narrative for next round, but I think depending on who wins greenhouse and who's nominated and how that auction goes down, I think that's gonna break away really fast, which I want to happen personally. I like two sides of the house, but I like a more fluid game. I also don't want like a whole group to like come together and run the whole game, but
yeah, I don't think it will say house versus house, just because like there are a lot of dynamics, whether it's like returning players or what we're finally starting to see, even though Taylor Luke kept this game in for so long, is you're getting like seasoned LRG players in the mix too. So there are definitely relationships all around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's enough people that are excited to kind of connect with someone who's in their other house and to compare notes. And I think there's enough of that going on where the lines will get blurry really quick. Whoever wins greenhouse definitely will, add to that. Hopefully it's one from each house just to be spicy, but we'll see you next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, you can watch the next episode of The Greenhouse at this link down below. Tune in Thursday at 8/7 Central. Right?
Yeah.
8/7 Central? Okay. Tune in at 8/7 Central this Thursday as we embark on the next round of The Greenhouse. Thank you, Taylor, for joining us as the host and creator of The Greenhouse. And we will see you all next week for another recap of The Greenhouse Season 8.
Why is it?